so we just got done replacing this capacitor, got the unit operational. One thing we did notice that I wanted to point out is the condenser is taking outside air, pulling it into the sides here and trying to lift the air away from it, the hot. And so the front of this unit looks really nice, but you can see we kind of brushed some of the leaves and stuff from behind it. A lot of this stuff will end up accumulating on the back side. So if you take a look back here, you know, it's basically completely plugged off. And so you're losing, you know, at least a quarter of the efficiency of the hole. Another problem that it will cause by not having it able to breathe very well is this, you'll notice instead of your air coming straight out here and getting lifted away, whenever it's creating a vacuum underneath that fan, the air has a tendency to blow sideways. And so what you'll feel is I can feel all the air coming out here instead of here. And so a lot of the heat ends up just getting sucked back in. So not only are you recirculating your heat, you're not able to lift it and get it out of here. So we're going to go ahead and shut this back off. We'll turn it off with the thermostat and to make sure to disconnect the power so we don't have any high voltage in the machine while we're spraying it off. So we'll go ahead and do that and get a hose over here and we'll show you the difference. All right, so I took a broom and basically got all the debris out from around them. That way as I'm washing it down, I don't have extra stuff coming out. So we're gonna go ahead and use a foaming cleaner on this condenser. The nice thing about the foaming cleaners is a lot of times the debris and stuff will get inside of the coil, and by spraying it, a lot of times you'll just force the stuff in there more. I like to use a foaming cleaner. That way the foam goes in there and will basically force all of the stuff out to give you a lot better chance of removing all of the debris inside of the machine. So we'll go ahead and get this sprayed down. So we've got all the foam applied. It basically foams up and then kind of falls back, so falls back down. So now we're going to go ahead and spray this out. And you want to make sure that you don't use too high a pressure on these coils. They're pretty delicate. They're just aluminum. If you take a pressure washer to it, then you're going to have to pick each one of the fins out. Also in the description below, I'll send a link to some fin combs. If your coil's already got a lot of damage from kids or from hail, there's really nice disposable fin combs that you can get to comb the fins out. I recommend washing it, combing the fins out, and then re-washing it. That way you can see what you're dealing with after you've cleaned it the first time. Exterior of this unit. One other thing we want to do is I'm going to take this fan off. Just make sure you get your disconnect off so the fan can't turn on you. And one of the biggest common mistakes that's made on pulling these fans off, as you can see right here, the fan has the electrical going to it over here. So you want to make sure that as you're lifting this up, obviously you've got to kind of pivot on that electrical. You want to make sure to not grab the fan blade. If you grab the fan blade and you put it back on, the thing's going to be shaking all over and you're going to have to buy a new fan blade. So basically you want to lift straight up. Just kind of make sure that you don't grab that fan blade. And then once you've got it really close to those wires, you can kind of pivot it on those wires and you can just kind of set it like that. That way you can get inside. And as you can see, all this stuff just accumulates inside of these units. So it's not really affecting the performance of it, but when we're doing a cleaning, we just want to clean all that stuff. This is something that should be done every single spring or fall. I recommend doing it in the spring. That way you've got a whole summer before you're getting filled with leaves again, and it'll make the unit run a lot better. All right, so these are isolation cubes. Basically what they do is they keep the vibration from the unit from vibrating into the house. I like to install them while cleaning if they don't already have it, because the unit has drains on the bottom, but the problem is it sits in its own muck, and so those drains get plugged up. So the nice thing is these just kind of break apart into these little squares. You can see they're nice flexible rubber. I just find 4 points, lift up the unit and set them underneath. That way when you're cleaning, the unit can drain really nicely. All right, so we'll go ahead and put this back on. Just also keep in mind putting it back on, we just don't want to tweak this fan blade. So we'll just make sure that the electrical conduit is in that hole, and then carefully set this back on. Just like that. All right, we got all the bolts in on the fan motor assembly. Getting ready to turn it back on. You can see all the debris we pulled out here. Is where we broomed all that stuff out first, and then this was all of the debris that came out of the unit. Those isolators that are underneath it allowed me to kind of wash the bottom of it out. It allowed the unit to drain a lot better. This particular unit is not a heat pump, but if it is a heat pump, in the winter it'll actually form ice on it and need to drain. So it's a lot more important on a heat pump to make sure that their own isolators are up off the ground so that it doesn't just accumulate. I've seen in the past where the ice will build up so much it'll flatten the very bottom coil. The copper line will just basically, every time it defrosts, it'll fill in a little gap, and then it'll squish and squish and squish that bottom pipe till the unit's dead. So definitely more important on a heat pump, but important nevertheless on both units. For any products we used in this video, please check the section below. We'll leave a link to all of the tools and products we used to make this repair. All right, we're getting ready to turn this thing back on. Last thing, if you have any questions, please leave a comment in the comment section. Please like and subscribe, and feel free to share this with anybody that's having issues with their AC unit. Appreciate you tuning in and taking a look at what we've got.